everyone, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl. And today's awesome guest is Antony Sammeroff, who is a psychotherapist by trade and has mostly been working online for 10 years. He has a new book he's working on, and there's a free ebook called 7 Pharma Myths Debunked. And we talked all about Big Pharma and what they're doing really to help humanity, not. And we talk a lot about fasting, detoxing, and wellness. So we had a great conversation. I can't wait for you to meet him. So let's go and say hello to Antony. Hey everyone, welcome to High Energy Girl, a podcast helping women to age stronger because it is never too late to get fit, be strong, and feel sexy. I'm your host, Tracy Gluhige, health coach and personal trainer and founder of HighEnergyGirl.com. Each week, we will either have a guest interview, which will provide you encouragement or an actionable tip to help you age stronger, or I will do a solo episode. Please also join our awesome Facebook group called High Energy Girls, and I'm looking forward to see you on the inside of that group and hope you enjoy today's show. Create Whole Body Wellness, a powerful new advancement in energy medicine. Increase your energy, empower your life. I am super excited to announce that I am now a bioenergetics practitioner. And many people are like, well, what is bioenergetics? So imagine that our body is controlled by our energy field, and these fields get distortions and blockages, which create physical and emotional symptoms. So how do we get energy blockages? From stress, toxins, EMFs, emotional traumas, physical scars, and physical traumas. All you need to do is decode the human body field to get to the root cause and restore your energy for life. For more information, head on over to the blog at highenergygirl.com/bioenergetics with an X. That's BIOENERGETIX, and heal your energy for life. Hey, Antony, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much, Tracy, for having me. I was so thrilled you the show. So it's great to be here with you. I'm excited.
Me too. So you're in Mexico right now. Well, actually, let's go back. So for the listeners that don't know you yet, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Sorry, I'm a counselor, psychotherapist, and I've always been a writer. And I wrote a book introduced people to economic reasoning called Universal Basic, starting when I was in college. So I like to write about whatever I'm learning about. And I applied that chatty style to economics, and people liked it because, let's face it, economists aren't really well known for their penetrable literature. But long before the pandemic, I was writing about the economics of healthcare, but most of it didn't get out. And I have my own health challenges, or had, that I worked through that doctors didn't have any answers to. So I'd read a bit about that, not my challenges, but like a bit about alternative health and here and there. So after what happened over the last 3 years, when I finished another project, I started writing on this. I'd also like helped ghostwrite a book for a naturopath. I just felt like I was uniquely suited to write a book on the pharmaceutical industry because I could come at it from so many different perspectives. And a lot of books deal with it from one or the other, exposing scandals or writing about the economics of healthcare or the history of healthcare or whatever, tons of stuff. What I'm excited about the bigger project that I'm working on, which the book that you received, which people can download, by the way, at 7pharmamyths.com. The number 7, pharma, like P, harm, A, myths, like mythology.com. You can get it for free, or you can contribute on that site. That's excerpts from a bigger project that I'm working on. What I'm excited about what I'm so excited about is I feel like it gives a panoramic view. It will help people get a real understanding of what's going on in the world because it's a topic where I think in order to understand, discount the fact that the incentive structure of the system is to keep people as sick as possible because that's how they make as much money as possible. You can't discount the fact that the government is throwing money at treatments that have proven to be ineffective and all of that. So yeah, that's my long-winded answer to your request for a bio. I hope you'll forgive me.
No, I think it's great. So, how about if we start with like heart disease? Because heart disease is the number
Oh,
one killer of men and women. And
right.
I feel that the statin drug craze, the cholesterol
Oh, wow.
BS, all of that is a huge, huge problem. So, what have you learned about that part of the industry?
Oh, wow. That's such a great question. Well, most heart disease is the biggest killer, partly if for no other reason than if nothing else gets you first, the heart will give out. However, a huge percentage of heart disease is completely preventable. And, you know, people like to believe that people can't change their habits. But actually, there's quite a few studies where it shows that with support, people actually can change their habits and exercise more. And I will cover some of these studies in the book, and eat better. It's just our society is such that the doctors hate giving patients dietary advice because they're like, oh, they're just going to go away and smoke and drink and eat bad food um and sit in front of the couch eating corn chips anyway. So what's the point? Um, but that's not enough. You can't just send people away like they're you to do it on their own. We evolved in tribal societies. People need community. If the incentive structure of the system was correct, we could reallocate the vast sums of money that we already spent treating preventable heart disease to creating programs to help people who want to join those programs to create a sense of community and get healthier together. There's an article online that claims a heart attack cost up to $760,000. That's more than enough money to reallocate. Why spend all that money when someone's already suffered a preventable disease? Why not get in front and spend that money on helping people achieve greater health so that these events don't happen? The only reason is because lots of um, people in the medical industry will lose tons of money. So you mentioned statins. I mean, as far as there is no good evidence that if you've not already had a heart attack, that statins will help you, especially if you're a woman. And but here's what happens, right? The There are heart disease related organizations that are authorities either created by the government or non-profit institutions, allegedly, that advise on what the policy for heart disease should be, and they inform the standard of care which doctors are supposed to adhere to. But what happens is all of the people, or the majority of the people on the boards of these um, organizations, have either been in pharma or are supported by pharma or have conflicts of interest by pharma. Then pharma fund these organizations and become their major contributors, right? So what happens is they say, oh, I think if you're over 62, you should have statins. No, let's make it 60. No, let's make it 59. No, let's make it 57. And suddenly, if you've got no other indicators that you might be vulnerable to a heart attack, but you're just a certain age, the doctor will say you should really be taking a statin. So that's why the guidelines on statins keep going down and down, and more people are on statins, despite the fact that the evidence on them is just not there. And the same goes for the policies on treating type 2 diabetes or any other. There's cheap insulin, but they were advising for ages and ages that they use the new expensive insulin, even though there's not really any evidence that it's that. And maybe, I don't know, maybe in 1 in 1,000 people it's slightly better. Who knows? It's not that. It's not. But it costs 10 times as much, and some people can't freaking afford it, so they die because they just don't want to take. They're trying to ration their insulin, and so you can just place that across the board, and it's really depressing, and when you hear about it that way, and especially because no one knows that it's going on, and most people trust their doctor. What's not depressing is if more people knew about it, we could save tons of money on unnecessary treatments, and everyone would be more wealthy.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's look at, so you were saying about like the preventing it and or reversing it with diet nutrition changes. Well, then we talk about the big food and the big mess we've got with that,
Right.
all the mislabeling. I remember when COVID started, I was at the grocery store. I went every day, just to give me something to do. And I remember seeing box of Lucky Charms that said immune boosting. I'm like, that is
What the heck?
criminal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and why? And if the government cares so much about our health, why isn't it at the beginning of the pandemic they sent out a little booklet to everyone saying your immune system and how to take care of it, and telling people all the things they could do to make themselves less vulnerable to viruses? But I digress. One more thing on statins, and not just statins, but blood pressure medication. Um, uh, weight, even weight, weight loss medication, um, anything like that. So when you, what these are indicators, right? So if you've got, high blood pressure or high cholesterol, or you're overweight, or let's even if you've got a tumor, right? In a different way, I'll come back round to the tumor. A lot of the time, they say that, oh, that medication lowers your cholesterol, therefore you're like less likely to have a heart attack, or that medication lowers your blood pressure, or that medication lowers your weight. So it must therefore make you at a lower risk of contracting some illness or another. But that doesn't prove it. That doesn't, but it can still get through the regulator. Oh, they lowered their blood pressure. They must be less likely to have um, to have a blood vessel burst. No, they'd never prove that the drug reduced your chances of contracting that disease. What they did was use what's called in the industry a surrogate endpoint. Oh, well, it lowered the risk factor. It only lowered the risk factor. And what you find for a lot of these drugs, because it's obviously easier, because it would take a long time to follow someone for 20, 30 years to see if the medication really did lower their chance of getting that disease. So, I mean, stop me if I talk too much because I just find all of this fascinating. And every interview, like you've asked me such different questions from what I've got before, so I've got to talk about stuff I've not spoken about before yet. Um, so, and a lot of the time, just be even if it does lower the mortality for that disease, for example, a statin could lower your risk of heart attack, let's say. All-cause mortality stays the same. In other words, people die at the same age. It doesn't extend their lifespan, but they just died of cancer instead, or they had another adverse event. That is the only thing that's important. It's not the only thing that's important is does it increase? Because I don't like it when people say this drug saves lives or nothing saves a life. Everyone's going to die, but it can extend your life. And does it extend people's lives? And does it extend people's quality of life? Improve people's quality of life? Those are the two main things. And you probably wouldn't choose to live 3 weeks longer if it massively reduced your quality of life for years, which is what some of these medications do. The reason why I mentioned the tumor is sometimes for like treatments, like chemo in particular, they say, oh, it shrunk the tumor. That doesn't prove that that person's going to live any longer. What you're doing is you're killing off the cancer cells that are vulnerable, and then it might just grow again because you've got the ones that the stronger cancer cells live on, and then they propagate, right? It Shrinking a tumor doesn't prove that the patient lives for longer, and you can't create an alternative reality where you check how long would that patient have lived if they hadn't got chemo, because it's like this. Um, Unfortunately, what happens is patients who don't have a very resilient system don't survive and are killed off by the treatment. And maybe you should have just taken the $250,000 or whatever you spent putting them through chemo and sent them to Hawaii or sent them to a Gerson therapy clinic. Um, to and they might live a lot longer than the doctor estimated. You know, Warren Zevon, the rock star, was told, "You've got 3 months to live." They said, "You should take chemo," and he was like, "No, thanks. I've got an album to record." So he went home, recorded his album, and lived another 2, 3 years, right? So the people who have a strong enough system to tolerate the chemo, a lot of them would have lived anyway, and they would have survived anyway. But the statistics say the chemo cured them. So that's another controversial, and I could get in a lot of trouble for it. Um, but you know, outside of like small lung cancers and things like that, and there's some cancers it might help with, and some it might help with, and a lot of it's not really proven to be very effective, and it costs so much money. But you can't go for any alternative in the USA because it's banned. So you'll need to go to Tijuana, Mexico or something if you want to try something else.
You mentioned Gerson.
Mm.
I had like one of the chief doctors on the show from Gerson Therapy. Can't remember his name.
Dr. Patrick Vickers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I came into your show. And he's now a friend of mine. I went to visit his clinic in Tijuana while I was researching the book, and we got on very well. So yeah, it's really weird meeting him because I was like, oh, I was just thinking a couple of months ago I was listening to you in a podcast, and now I'm sitting next to you having a chat.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah,
Well, because you're in Mexico right now, right?
I am. Yes.
Are you at Gerson or are you
Oh
somewhere
no,
else?
that was a couple of months ago. To be honest, I just don't like the Scottish weather. So usually I spend the winter away, and I just go back. Um, during the warmer months to see all my friends. Just rent an apartment there for a few months, and then come out somewhere warm to write, where I can get on in cafes.
Sounds lovely.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I just don't have. I work online. I see all my clients online, and I love writing, and I just um I don't really have that many attachments, so I'm going to continue to do it while I'm free enough.
Cool. I love it. Okay, let's go back to the whole thing about the drugs.
Hmm.
So you didn't mention side effects, like of the
Right.
statins and of the blood pressure pills and all of that.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So how would you say the all the side effects that it would influence? Like what happens? So my biggest problem is that I feel that cholesterol is not our enemy,
Right.
and that cholesterol actually helps our body in so many
Right.
ways, and yet they want us to lower our cholesterol
Right.
to a ridiculous number.
Right. And yeah, cholesterol is um like is necessary to make all sorts of hormones and things like that in the body. Uh, there's a good presentation on YouTube by Bergman, the chiropractor. I think his name's John, called Pharmaceutical Apocalypse. And in one bit, he talks about how necessary cholesterol is. So, yeah, I'm not I don't have an intimate memory of the side effects of statins, but side effects aren't side effects, first of all. They're effects. So there was one medication which had the side effect that it made some people regrow hair. So the drug manufacturer just switched the side effect for the intended effect and said, well, now we've got a hair growth medication that lowers blood pressure. Do you know what I mean? So in fact, my teacher, Gary Tunsky, used to say, drugs don't cause side effects, they cause diseases. If you take a drug that gives you, I don't know, dizziness or a headache, or it scoops out all your magnesium and causes all sorts of problems, you've just given yourself another disease. But here's the thing, right? What is the incentive within the system to reduce side effects? Do pharmaceutical companies have to pay out for side effects? Like, if you get sicker, then they get more money for treating your side effects. It used to be the philosophy in medicine until maybe the end of the 70s-ish that you never treat a side effect with a drug. You just either lower the dosage or you take the patient off the drug. But somewhere along the line, the policy changed, and now it's cashing in on treating side effects. So, you know, we would have to have a health community where instead of making more money, look, if I was your financial advisor, Tracy, and I said, I've got some great ideas for you in the High Energy Girl podcast, right? Whenever your podcast audience grows, I'll get paid less. And whenever it shrinks, I'll get paid more. How does that sound? You tell
Horrible.
me, yeah, you tell me to take a hike, right? The incentive structure of the system is to keep people as sick as possible without dying. Just keep them teetering on the edge, because then we can treat them as for as long as possible and get as much money out of them as we can. Um, Now, I'm not saying there's like people, doctors and nurses want this to happen, but I'm just saying a ship goes where the sails are pointed. right? So if the incentives are the system, or whatever the incentives of the system say, the ship's going to get blown in that direction. We need the we need we eventually need to create a system where they make more money the healthier you get, and they lose money the sicker you get. So they'd be the ones paying for your treatments. And then they start to look for, how can we minimize the side effects? How can we minimize the side effects? How can we, because they wouldn't want to be paying out for side effects, you know, for diseases caused by side effects. So yeah,
Well, the pharmaceutical companies are a for-profit company,
that's right.
right? So
Yeah,
that's what it's all about, in my opinion.
uh, and insurance companies, they know that, and most people change their jobs several times. So by the time you get old and you have a chronic disease, you're someone else's problem, right? They just want to get as much as they can out of your paycheck while you're working. And then what happens in 30 years is someone else's problem. You're going to be on a different insurance plan. So this isn't helping to create a culture where people are encouraged to take care of their health, or meet at a juice bar instead of a salad bar, a juice bar instead of a bar that serves alcohol. I
Yeah.
don't know, that world might be fun one day.
Yeah, I mean, it would make everybody feel better in the long run, but it's like it just goes back to what their education level is, like what they're taught.
Mhm.
And they believe, and I feel sorry for doctors in a way,
Me too.
because I think that they go into the industry because they want to help people, and they don't really know how corrupt. It's just like, medicine and politics. They're both just so corrupt.
Yeah, and they've got their hands tied. They're only allowed to prescribe pharmaceuticals or surgery. So even if they know about stuff that's outside of the mainstream, they're not allowed to prescribe it. And a lot of them just don't want to know, because I mean, by the time you come out of 10 years of education, you're 2 grand or more, and 200 grand or more in debt. Like, you've given so much to the system, and you just want to make money and retire at 55, or, it's like, it's hot. Yeah, it's really sad. And then what are you meant to do? Like, it's like, I spoke to a doctor that was reversing cancer, and she said the other when her patients go back to their doctors and see that they've improved, the doctor's like, well, just keep on doing what you're doing. The implication being, but just don't tell me anything about it because I don't want to know, and
Mhm.
that's, I'm here with a friend of mine who's a doctor, and It's they also get disillusioned by the patients, because to be honest, a lot of patients just want pills. That's what they want, you know? So yeah, it's a bit of a quandary. The thing is, it really doesn't need everyone to want our approach. As long as those who want it can have it, that's what would make all the difference. So because a few people get it, and then their friends and family see the difference, and some of them don't want to do it, but an aunt or uncle, and they say, "Oh, well, my son managed to reverse colitis. Oh, maybe you should speak to him." Even if they don't want it for themselves, and eventually it would become a situation where you you wouldn't look good. Right now, people don't know that there is any other option for them. But when people do know that there's an option, you look bad for not taking the option.
Yeah.
And people
And
are
it's
very,
It's crazy because even if a doctor does want to offer lifestyle suggestions, what they typically do is they have a registered dietitian
Hmm.
office that will help the patients, especially with things like diabetes. And the registered dietitian doesn't talk to them about lifestyle changes. They basically talk to them about how much insulin you need based on what foods you choose to eat,
Oh,
instead of don't eat that garbage, eat
hmm.
this healthy whole food that's not going to raise your blood sugar dramatically in the first place. Because
Yeah, it's
registered
amazing. Go on.
I'm sorry, registered dietitians are the only nutritional counseling that's covered by insurance. And so there again, people are trapped by what their insurance is going to pay for.
Amazing. That's so true as well. And you you would think that insurance companies would want to compete for patients, sorry, for clients by searching out the cheapest treatment at the cheapest price, and that way they'd be able to offer lower premiums. But the thing is, they get a kickback. I'm sorry, how rude of me. A reimbursement according to how much they pay out. So the more they pay out, the bigger kickback. Oh, I did it again. The bigger kickback. Sorry, I can't stop saying it. The bigger the reimbursement. So they're all on the same side, and it's not yours.
Who do they get? The insurance companies get a reimbursement the more they pay out?
Yeah, they get they keep a portion of what they pay out,
Who pays
or
them?
I think it's the private hospitals. I'm not really an expert on this particular issue because yeah, maybe I'll have to look into it a little bit further. But yeah, I mean I came across that a couple of times in my research because I was trying to figure out, you know, there in an ideal world, insurance would act as a check and balance against private hospitals overcharging. And the truth is, insurance companies tell doctors how to practice medicine. They're like so influential because they're like, we won't pay for this, we won't pay for that, and they're always trying to push the push the push everything down. They have, but there's many because look, you can get top-notch care in for surgery, right? Most spending is not surgery, it's disease, but a huge amount of money is spent on surgery. You can get top-notch surgery in Mexico, the Philippines. You can go to a top class clinic in Bangalore, India, that where they just do heart operations all day, like in conveyor belt, and they train students in there so cheap. They could fly you there and go here, get your cheap surgery, and also while you're at it, take 2 weeks holiday, and you'd still save the insurance company $60,000, $70,000 or something like that. Why don't they
Wow.
do it? Why don't they just send people abroad for top-notch care? They could have their select clinics, which they knew were world class, and just give patients the option. They'll say, "Yeah, we can treat you in America you want if you want, but if you let us fly you out to um Thailand, we know this really good clinic that's just amazing at whatever your condition is, and they'll treat you there. You can take a week or two on the beach. We'll pay for it all. And we'll also give you $10,000 and we'll keep the rest of the difference." They'd be able to do that and they'd still be cheaper. It would still be cheaper than getting the operation done in America. But they don't. Why is that?
Mm.
One of the reasons is there's massive regulations on providing health insurance in most states. I don't know if it's most states, but in a lot of states, you're only allowed to go with an insurer that's based in your state. And that means there's a lack of competition in that industry. here's the economist in me coming out. Because there's a lack of competition, they can do what they want. If anyone could open up an insurance company, then some people would do these kinds of things. Some people would find ways to um, undercut the competition, but it's a racket, you
It
know?
is. Yeah. We were just shopping for new insurance because last year I haven't been to a doctor or used my medical insurance in over 3 years. Nothing,
Right,
zero. And I was paying $1,000 a month for nothing. My husband is 7 years older than me, and so he was paying like 1,200 and something, and he wasn't using it, but he finally did because he had to have surgery in his eye. Some
right.
blood vessels broke. So even though he paid 1,200 bucks a month for the insurance, out of pocket with the surgery, we still had to pay $8,000 or $9,000.
Wow.
So it was crap. So what I
Yeah,
have found is there's these health sharing companies.
yes. Yes, I cover them in the book to some extent. If you know more about that, send me all the info because I'm looking
Well,
around.
he doesn't like change, so he stayed with Anthem. I said, screw
Right.
you, Anthem, I'm changing. So I went to Zion health sharing. And so I was just like, I'm not dealing with this. It's ridiculous.
Mm.
But the other thing I have the problem with insurance companies is that they charge the same amount for a healthy, fit person that they do as an unhealthy, unfit person. The healthy person should have a lower rate
Of course.
than the unhealthy person to motivate them to get healthy.
Yeah. It's oh no, but it's politically incorrect. Oh, you can't. That's not fair for you to discriminate against unhealthy people. You know, that's the philosophy today. So when I was talking about having an incentive structure that incentivizes good health instead of bad health, that's that would be the beginnings of the kind of thing I was talking about. They would save so much money on unnecessary and treating preventable diseases that if someone found it really hard to motivate themselves to change, they could pay for a psychologist, that specialized in that kind of thing, and that would still be cheaper than paying for a heart attack or something like that, you know. Um, so I don't know. The thing, it's as I mention in my book, America is approaching spending 4 trillion a year on healthcare. Whenever we talk about, whenever you hear about the health, what kind of healthcare should you have, they always kind of tend to compare America's system with the UK or Canada or something like that. And it's like that's a choice between what would you prefer? I've got a great choice for you here, Tracy. Would you rather be bankrupt by medical bills, or would you rather die on a waiting list for a condition that you could get treated the next day? You know, it's like both systems have their flaws, but no one ever talks about Singapore, which Singapore has a similar economy to America and a similar earning per head, and they live 5, 6 years longer than Americans. They're far more healthy, and their healthcare system costs a quarter of what per head of what America's system does. Um, and all of the policies that Singapore implemented to make the spending on healthcare so low and the outcomes so high were conceived of by American economists trying to fix America's healthcare system. I don't really think implementing Singapore's system in America is the final end point which will solve all our problems with healthcare. But it's good in the sense that it would be a good because the reason for that is they would still bring the mainstream medicine philosophy, which is if you treat the symptom, you're treating the cause, and but that's not the symptom isn't the disease. The symptom is just they call it the disease, but it's not. Everything wrong with the philosophy of mainstream medicine would come with Singapore's medicine. But you might save $2 to $3 trillion in the meantime while we fix those other problems. Maybe enough money to abolish poverty in the USA. That's a lot of money. So that's just an interesting point. Like the reason I'm sometimes optimistic is I think even though we don't know it, we're sitting on a treasure chest. I mean, $2 trillion, that's enough to satisfy both liberals and conservatives because you could give a big tax cut and you could balance the budget for conservatives, and for liberals you could pay for unfunded liabilities, you could pay for everyone's pensions. So yeah, America is sitting on a treasure chest. They just don't know how rich they would be if they implemented a sane healthcare system.
So let's talk solutions. We've been talking problems for half an hour. So what are your recommendations to the listeners as far as a alternative approach to their
Right.
health?
Well, I think the thing you said about, crowd-funded healthcare is a great start and a great alternative to insurance. Prevention is better than cure. Rather
Right.
than treat, rather than for that, rather than try and fight fires, let's, catch the arsonists. I go into more detail in this in the booklet that I really hope you'll all go to 7pharmamyths.com and download my free ebook. Um, I see the body as an organism with physiological needs, right? You need to get all of the nutrients that your body needs. If you don't get what your body needs, how can you build healthy tissues? You need vitamins, minerals, amino acids. You need sunshine. You cannot rely on a vitamin D supplement because sunshine has 36 benefits apart from vitamin D. So you're not getting all of those in your vitamin D supplement. Air. Get outside. Breathe clean air. Go and hug a tree. Feel the way that being in nature clears your mind. Oxygen. Yeah, I mentioned that. If you want, you could try hyperbaric chamber. I suggest you do it in Mexico or Colombia. It's way cheap compared to come over for 2 weeks, do a hyperbaric chamber for 10 days out of the 2 weeks. You'll feel like a new person. Um, if you have the luxury of being able to do that. And obviously, you need to watch that you don't step on landmines. Don't buy, don't eat foods that come out of a box except for as a treat. I like if it grows, eat it. If it doesn't grow, don't eat it. You know, that's a better philosophy of diet. Another thing that they're skeptical about in the mainstream, but I know for a fact is curative or preventative is detoxing the body. Go on a water fast, go on a juice cleanse. Every cell in the body eats and poops just like we do. And when the cell poop backs up in your body, the cell itself gets surrounded in a film of metabolic waste, which is the scientific term for cell poop. Once the cells are coated in crap, it's hard for them to admit nutrients. So even if you're eating all the right foods, how's the stuff going to get into the cell? So people just don't know how much better they would feel in a clean body. Because think about it this way, right? You've got a family house and the you know, you've got two garbage cans and in the garage, and you know, you 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 accumulate about 5 bags of garbage a week, and that's fine for that's working for years. But then the kids get a little bit older, and you've got a lot in your hands, so you don't cook as often, so you buy more boxed stuff in the supermarket. Then you're producing 6 bags of garbage a week. Then you don't take as much exercise, and sorry. Then you order pizza, and then there's 7 bags of garbage in the trash can a week, and so it goes on. But here's the thing: the garbage cans can only take 8 cans of garbage, and the garbage truck only comes once a week, and it's taken away 2 garbage cans. So soon, every week, you're producing 9 bags of garbage because your habits aren't what they were, and you're only getting two eight eight 8 bags taken a week, right? So that's over the week. There's a funny smell coming from the garage. Then you don't take exercise, so the garbage truck's only coming every 8 days. Then you don't get out and get some fresh air, so the garbage truck's only coming every 9 days. Then you don't want to drink too much water because you feel sluggish, and you know if you drink it, then you'll need to get up and pee, and you don't want to get up and pee. And now the garbage truck's only coming every 10 days. So this is the philosophy by which this is the analogy I came up, which I'm really proud of for my book. It's in more detail in the ebook. I wouldn't mess it up so badly. Um, to help you understand that your metabolic wastes back up in the body, and then you start getting fungal infections in your feet because they're feeding off your garbage. Then you start getting all sorts of diseases, just depending on where the wastes are accumulating. So it's very logical, simple process. Then there's all the other stuff like the pesticides and the herbicides and the plastics and the heavy metals. But, you know, it's the same process. Stop putting stuff in. Less is more. Give the body a break. Allow it to clean itself out. Drink, you know, 12 glasses of water, large glasses of water, an hour apart when you water fast, and just see how amazing you feel
So let's
after the
talk
fast.
about that. Okay, so water fast. I mean, it's like a big thing. Everybody's talking about it these days. I have never heard anybody describe the cellular waste as like a trap that you can't allow nutrients into the cell.
Yeah,
So I want to
that's
kind
from
of
my
talk.
teacher, Gary Tunsky.
So I want to talk about that. Okay. So how long does it take to clean that cell and eliminate that covering, the waste coating?
Well, I it depends how much it depends on your body, it depends on the function of your liver and kidneys. How well are your detoxification channels working? You know, some people can eat crap their whole life, and maybe when they're in their 80s they have a bit of arthritis, but they're okay. And I know that arthritis, for example, can often be reversed by water fast, but you need to do it long. You need to do it properly and long enough. um it depends how toxic you are, and it depends how good your filtration systems are. So there's no answer to that. But what I could tell you is I'm actually on a water fast at the moment while we're speaking. Um, I'm actually on day 8 of a water fast. So, and I'm fine. I'm really energetic, but I've done it tons of times before. And each time it just goes deeper. You just don't know. Like the states of consciousness that I've experienced on this water fast, I never experienced that clarity and inspiration and stuff until I started eating again after a water fast the last time and the time before. So I don't know. It's a process. Who knows how deep it can go? What I would say is if you want to dip your toe in, experience something and then discover for yourself how deep it can go. Don't necessarily think about it as, oh, when am I going to be done? When am I going to be done? Think about it as, oh, what can I get out of this? And discover that. And then maybe, like, I'm already looking forward to doing it again, doing a long one again next year, you know, just because it's so profound. But um, yeah, when I started yoga, I was always like, oh, how long is it going to be until I'm not crap at this pose and so unfair. I've got such a rubbish body and like when am I going to be done? When am I going to be healthy? Now I just try and feel my way into the pose, and I think that's a good philosophy of life in general.
Yeah. They say like just do your own practice. Everybody has their own. Go for a feel, not a picture.
Right.
Okay, so I want to go back to the fasting. So if
Hmm.
somebody's listening and they're like, I really want to try this out, what is the easiest, simplest way? And what is the amount of time that's doable for a newbie?
Wow, these are amazing questions, but there's it's so hard to generalize. I'm just going to tell you the philosophy, okay? So uh, so you can make an own decision. There's a lot of people who say, I can't tell people what to do, and I don't want to be responsible for their actions either. So I'll speak in general terms. A lot of people say you should do a couple of 1 day water fasts or 2 day water fasts just to get just to get some experience and find out how not scary it is. Um, on the other hand, the first 2 days are by far the worst 2 days. On day three, you stop getting hungry because the system just shuts down. So, I'm not hungry. Like, so what the problem with that is it could be great advice, but it could put people off. Because if they think, wow, if they're really toxic and they were like, wow, I did 1 day and I felt so rubbish, they might just never, they might think every day was going to be like that, where actually it gets easier. Not only do you not get hungry, but usually you clear out the most recent stuff before. I recommend if you can prepare for a couple of days before by just eating fruit and a salad or juicing. It's not necessary, but it helps. If you eat rubbish food, you're just setting yourself up for trouble. It might not, it might be fine, but it might not be. So why risk it? Um, and then, I mean, here's how I did it the first time. I said, I'm just going to do 1 day and see how I go. And at the end, I'm just going to try 1 day. And then at the end of the first day, I was like, if I go to sleep now, I'll get 8 hours free. So maybe I'll just break the fast in the morning. The morning I wasn't that hungry. I was fine up to the afternoon. It got to a certain kind of time, and I was like, yeah, I don't need to eat dinner. I might as well just do the same thing again. And by that point, I was like, okay, this kind of seems to work now. So I went for 5 days, and I felt so transcendent when I had my first meal. I actually could have gone on, but I broke the fast because I was meeting up with my girlfriend in the evening, and I wanted to have a meal with her. She was coming in from out of town. Otherwise, I was like, man, this is pretty awesome. So I did 5. I think five's pretty good if you can do it. But I would just say do what I did. Feel your way out. Make sure you drink enough water and see how you feel. Uh, uh, don't if you're doing a lot of strenuous activities, it might not be compatible with your job. Again, depending on how much you detox. Um, so I guess I would say play it by ear and just make each day the most important day of your life. Um, I think I had one other bit of advice.
So what's the minimum days that you
Oh
can
yeah,
do it in order to have a result of a cellular cleanse?
it's that so that if you want, right, my teacher Gary Tunsky said, in any detox protocol, the first week you're cleaning the fluids, the second week you're cleaning the organs, and on the third week you get to the cellular level. So that's which is a weird thing to say now that I think about it, because everything's made of your cells. So that's probably overstating it with fasting. But it is true in the first couple of days, if you do a couple of days fast, you're cleaning your saliva, your blood, your lymph fluid, and stuff like that. After 3 days, you go into ketosis and then you're burning fat instead of muscle, which is another reason why you want to do like tons of 1 or 2 day fasts because you're going to be eating up muscle.
What if you
So,
start in ketosis? Like I've been keto for 7
all right.
years.
Well, then you're probably already be burning fat, not muscle.
Well, I don't care about the fat burn. I'm more into muscle gain, but my question
Yeah,
is that at
yeah,
57 I want healthy cells, and so I'm just curious as
yeah. All right, okay. Um, you there's no definitive answer to this. It's like you the truth is it's better to do longer fasts because it's a process that the body recognizes and that deepens with time. And the longer that you fast, the deeper the process goes. It could be that one 8 day fast. In yoga, they say you can go for 8 days without any risk of damage to the system. I've done a lot longer than that, and I'm lean. But the first two were supervised, and this one we're co-supervising. It's a bunch of friends who've all fasted before, and one of us is a doctor. So I wouldn't recommend more than that unsupervised. The deeper, the longer you go, like it could be that one 8 day water fast is several times more effective than two 4 day water fasts.
okay, that's what I'm getting at. So
Yeah,
how often do you do a long fast?
well, I did two 6 months apart, and this is a year since I did the second one, and I might have done some short ones. But after this, I was so sluggish before I came here, and after this, I just know that if I ever get back into that state where I'm like, oh, how am I going to pull myself together? I'm just going to fast for 4 or 5 days, maybe six, who knows? Because I felt so energetic. I felt like this is how I always should have felt. But I feel like that's because it built on my previous experience. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
um, the process has been deepening in me, which is why I'm so excited because I'm like, wow, this has gone deeper than I've ever gone before.
How much longer do you have?
If I told you you'd take a canary, we were originally going to do 21, which I've done twice before, but I don't want like a long recovery time. So, which I needed the first time. The second time I did it, I didn't because I brought 12 extra pounds with me. Um, so I'll probably just quit at maybe 17, 18, something like that.
And then how long? So the last time I've done a few short fasts, like I don't know, the longest was 3.5 days. And man, when
Right.
you eat again, it's like your body just like it just goes right out, you know?
Mm, mm,
Um, So what is your recovery plan so that that doesn't happen to you?
Um, uh, Refeed mostly on fruit and salads. Um, Mono is the higher the water content, the better. So you're talking watermelon, papaya, coconut water. These are the best things to reintroduce after fasting. Then, whatever you like, mangoes, pineapples. Then gradually you can introduce more caloric dense or interesting foods as you've adjusted. Especially if you're doing a long fast, it's good to stay on that longer, because if you've got old material that's been in your gut that's been rehydrating, the water and the fibers from the fruit is going to gently pull that stuff out. You know, if you have a slice of toast, anything that rehydrated over the course of your fast and was on its way out will just stick to the wall of the intestines again. So that's
Oh.
you lose some of the potential benefits of it. I feel like this was two podcasts in one. It was like the Pharma podcast and the fasting podcast.
Well, it's like problem solution, you know? I mean, I think
Mhm,
everybody can benefit from eating less frequently and,
mhm.
cleansing their body. I have a sauna. I go in my sauna like every other
Oh, cool.
day, Um, that's one way to detox. I need to do a long fast, but I started doing CrossFit and now my goal has been just muscle, strength. I've really been working on that and
Yeah,
so I don't want to lose any
I
muscle.
would.
That's
Yeah, I know that's the trade-off though. But my teacher said you shouldn't worry about losing muscle on a long fast, because your body will become so much more efficient that it's easier to put the muscle back on than it was before you fasted. So I would say this is a little bit of a new age woo point, but I would recommend you instead of saying I need to do a long fast, say I would benefit from doing a long fast, and then
mm-hmm.
you'll not be shooting all over yourself.
Shooting. Yeah, I know. That's for sure. But I've been wanting to do it. I just have had this conflicting wants, right? I want to be stronger and I want to do a long fast again because it's been a few years. We're
You
doing
just
the
don't know how much stronger fasting will make you yet.
Okay, well, we're starting the CrossFit Games next week, and that's 3 weeks. So when that's done, then I'm going to do a long fast as soon as that's over.
Awesome. Well, definitely contact me beforehand, if there's anything you want to discuss, and just make sure like you have the right guidance on drinking water and stuff like that, because a lot of people don't drink enough water, and that's the main thing, because you need the water to wash the toxins out, and you need to breathe. If you can get outside and breathe, you need the oxygen will bond to urea, it'll bond to ammonia, it'll bond to sulfur, it bonds to all the compounds, and then you wash them out through the
Mhm.
urine.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I live across the street from a mountain, so I love to
Perfect.
hike and I walk every day, and I'm always at the peak of the warmth of the day is when I choose to go out. So that part's easy. The water I drink probably a gallon a day, so that's easy.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
yeah, it's just making the commitment is my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be
It's
awesome. But
deciding.
I mean, yeah, the thing is, see, when I landed here, I was like, oh man, so I've just been driving myself so hard to finish the book. It's nice to just give yourself that time to reduce activities and just heal yourself. I mean, you'll be like a catapult. Yeah, that it's not going now, it's not flying through the air now, but you're creating that um readiness the restfulness is the basis of activity, and fasting is giving your whole system a rest.
Yeah. Well, it will be the first week of March, so it'll be great because it'll be warm and sunny. And
Awesome.
I think our last competition is March 3rd. So I'll start, that's a Friday. So I'll probably start like the Sunday right after that. So
That
that'll be
sounds
good.
awesome. I'm excited for you. I really want your report. I really want your fasting report.
Okay. So I'll have you send me your favorite tips and we'll even include those in the show notes. If there's anything you
Okay.
didn't cover today, like some of my questions would be like electrolytes. Do you add any salt to your water or do you just do
I
pure?
I don't do it. Um, the the I've got a friend that does it, and he says, "Yeah, fasting's a breeze for me." And I sometimes wonder, is it such a breeze because you're not detoxing as much as other people are? And I don't know if that's true. First of all, the body's very efficient at reusing electrolytes if it's not getting any new ones. And it might not do this. I don't know. I don't have the money to start a study. It's just you worry, see if you introduce things, will it make the body, like, see if you take salt, will it make the body think, oh, salt, food must be coming now? And then the digestive system
Ah,
starts working again.
yeah.
I don't know if we need to run a study. I don't like to make claims that I can't back up,
So when you're
you know.
fasting, is your exercise just walking?
Walking, what I do is I get on the yoga mat and I start with a neck stretch, and instead of like, oh, I need to do my neck stretch and this, I just really feel into my body and just do light stretching and see exactly where I need to stretch. It's just like lots of stretches, but not too strenuous.
Okay, so just more intuitive
Yeah.
and okay. And that's good to know. And I will probably do about 5 days.
Because
So,
any energy you use up is any. Well, that's awesome. That's the same as my first fast. My first fast.
so how do you
Yeah.
want people to find you, Antony? Just by your website or are you on social? How can they connect with you?
The first thing is you can go to 7pharmamyths.com and download the ebook for free. If you're well endowed, open up your wallet and send me a few dollars because pharma reps get paid six figures and I don't. So um I've taken such a cut in work to focus on writing this book. And speaking of work, I mentioned at the top of the show that I'm a counselor, a psychotherapist. If you think that someone crazy enough to fast for 21 days twice and then come back for more is the kind of person that might suit you as a counselor, get in touch with me, Facebook, uh, Instagram, Twitter, Antony Sammeroff. It will be in the show notes. And if you tell me that Tracy sent you, I'll do a free intro, uh, unless I get like 30, because then I can. Um, and we'll get to know each other and see if I think I can help you, and if you think I can help you. That would be cool as well.
Awesome. How do you spell your last name? So, and just in case they're listening, so it's
That's a good
Antony,
one.
Antony.
That's right. I've got no H. Thanks for remembering. Sammeroff.
Okay.
I'm
So
the only one in the world, so you won't have any trouble finding me on social media. Notorious is what I am.
that's like me. I'm the only one, Tracy Gluhite, in the world. So
Hmm.
easy to find, kind
Cool.
of scary sometimes.
Well,
Anyway,
well, I definitely think you're one of a kind.
aw, you are so sweet. This was a pleasure. This is really fun. I do think you're a little crazy. 17, 21 days. Oh my gosh. I would love to have that kind of dedication. So I applaud you
Yeah.
for everything, for,
Well,
even exposing pharma. That's a huge,
mhm.
huge, mafia to me.
Well, on the point of the 21 days, I was suffering from conditions I wanted to reverse, and if you're in this situation where if you're in that situation, you might want to take radical steps to resolve it. And I benefited so much from the first one that I just really knew that I was onto something.
Yeah. Well, hey, if you can heal our bodies can heal themselves.
Hmm. Hmm.
When you cut a finger, your finger
Yes,
heals. If you break a bone, your bones heal. For some reason, people believe that the rest of our body can't heal itself. Just
correct.
given the
And
proper environment, our bodies can heal themselves. If you keep
yeah,
dumping the poison, then it's, going to keep having to fight the poison.
yeah, and the cleaner your body is, the more efficiently it will help heal itself, which is the principle of detox. So if you're not ready for a water fast, just get 2 packets of celery and juice them in the morning. Oh my God, do it every day for a week or 8 days. See how you feel. Then say, okay, well maybe I'll just go on vegetable juice for a few days. Maybe treat yourself with a glass of freshly squeezed orange juice as well. It's so good on so many levels. You're getting all those living enzymes that are going to work inside you. Then you're getting all that hydration. And the great thing about hydrating using something like celery juice is when you drink water, it just gets absorbed into your body as soon as it hits the walls of the small intestine. Whereas when you drink celery juice, it goes all the way through the tube. So that's getting a deeper level of hydration than drinking water, and it will flush out some old stuff that we don't need to talk about as well, if you're lucky. So you're getting the enzymes, the hydration, the cleansing effect, and also you're skipping a meal for it so that you're not putting that additional strain in your digestive system. And yeah, you're just it's a wonder. You just help your body clean itself, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You'll feel better for it.
And if you do celery juicing at home, please make sure you have a masticating juicer
Mhm.
and not one of those high speed juicers, because that will kill the enzymes in it from the heat. The masticating juicers are much better. So make sure you guys have that. So what do you want to
Cool.
close with?
I just want to close with thank you so much for having me on the show. It was a great pleasure. People at home, thanks for listening to me yell about things, controversial things that I'm sick and tired of. And yeah, I wish you all the best of health
Thank you,
and
Antony. It was a
high
pleasure.
energy. It was a pleasure to
Woohoo!
speak to you too.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. Please check out his website at 7pharmamyths.com. And for complete show notes, head on over to the blog at highenergygirl.com/show. Now go out and make it a great day. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.